Hi, I'm Tasha with Pathways to Peace Counseling, and today we are going to talk about games that you can play to help children process trauma. Now, to be honest, this was a list that was a little bit more difficult to compile than a lot of the other ones that I've put together because there just really isn't a lot out there as far as games that you can use specifically for trauma. This list is a combination of games that I have put together, my own games, as well as games that you can find online that were created by other people. As always, all of the games that I talk about are going to be $20 or under. So a lot of games that are out there, gosh, there sometimes some of these counseling games are like $75, and I'm like, what? Like, so uncool. Totally uncool. So to begin with, I can't unsee it. This is my go-to game for trauma. This one is a book and game combination, and it's about a little girl who sees something horrible. And then it talks about like a lot of the common symptoms that kids have whenever they experience trauma. Like she's struggling to focus in school, she is having a hard time sleeping at night, she's disengaging from the things that she normally enjoys doing. But then it talks about like dissociation and about how your brain wants to kind of separate those memories and not think about them, repression of how we kind of push it down into our subconscious, but then also how our bodies try to bring all that back and put all those puzzle pieces together. So it's a lot of psychoeducation about what happens in your body when you experience trauma, and then the things that you can do to really start putting everything back together to feel good again. So it is just a very educational but powerful tool. And it has a full counseling game that goes along with it that teaches all the skills that kids can use to really understand. It's almost like taking trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy and breaking it down into little steps. But it's also like, you could incorporate tapping and some different things into it to kind of incorporate it into an EMDR program. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this to make it a very powerful healing tool. So the next one is Trauma Jeopardy. This one is by Jessica Hugenberg. And it's a game that's going to help children who recover from trauma. It uses a lot of TF-CBT and EMDR sources in it. And so it's very much a psychoeducational tool to help them understand all these different things about trauma. So this next one, I have to admit, I was horrified whenever I saw this game online. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought this could be a really powerful tool. And that's something whenever you see something and you're absolutely horrified by it, shelf it. Like, don't just ditch the I've ditched some games and things over the years that I kind of looking back, I'm like, I wish I hadn't ditched them so fast. But this one, I mean, whenever I first looked at Joy, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just a sad picture. She's all wounded, she's half naked, laying there on the hospital bed. But it allows kids to nurture her and to take care of her. And so as you play this game, you're going to have like little tissues that you use to wipe up. You're going to apply ointment to her. You're going to remove splinters. And it's kind of this healing thing. Now, I would definitely have a whole lot of discernment about who you use this game with. But I have actually used this with children who have experienced pretty horrific trauma. And it was like really cathartic. Like it had like this emotional response, but they were like zeroed in, like you're not going to rip me away from this game. And it had to be like they wanted to complete it. But then it opened up discussion as far as, was there anybody to nurture you when you went through this horrible thing? If there wasn't, what was it that you wish had happened? And like you can talk about a lot of really important healing aspects. And this game can open up the topic for sure. Like, did you have to go to the hospital? Did you have injuries from the trauma that you experienced? I mean, there's so many ways you could use this, but I would highly encourage you to play it yourself first and really get a feel for it before using it with kids. But it's free and online. But yeah, I wouldn't play it with your everyday kid though. Um, and if you need more inside out ideas, I've got a link here for a whole blog post on that. The next one is the horrible thing that happened. So this is the first trauma game that I made many, many years ago, but it's very much a CBT, a TF-CBT type game where it's going to ask, a lot of questions as far as, what did you think about what happened? Just kind of trying to find those stuck points. But then so it's going to have situation cards, and this would be another one to read through the situation cards and pull out the ones that might not be appropriate to talk about with your kid. But then also trying to be intentional about making sure that certain cards are included, like maybe at the top of the deck, if there are certain ones that you really do want to discuss with the child. So, but it's going to be about like taking that trauma and breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. And another thing that's kind of woven into there is like a little bit of comic relief, because when we're doing trauma work, it can get really heavy really fast. And one of the reasons I love doing games with these kids is because when you're working through that trauma, it's really easy to get overly emotional and super triggered by it. But being able to move to a different topic or to be able to tell a joke or laugh a little or tell a funny story can really bring the emotions back down and kind of give you a breath before you dive right back in again. So it's kind of like a dance. So anyway, this one is a good one for dealing with more of, just getting in there and processing that trauma. Dissociation conversation cards. This is by Gentle Observations. And this is going to really help people understand, what is dissociation? Why does it happen? And it will help kids understand self-talk statements and how they might be related to their dissociation. It's going to build awareness and triggers. So anyway, if you have kids that are experiencing dissociation, it might be a really helpful tool. Teddy's Leaky Bucket is not necessarily specifically trauma based, but it definitely brings a lot of healing and understanding to kids that have experienced trauma. So the story behind this is a little boy that goes through these different experiences that have really deeply hurt him. And each time these things happen, it's like having a hole pierced into his emotional bucket, and he feels like he's not able to get emotionally full anymore. Like every time somebody pours into him and loves on him, it's like everything leaks out. And so he explores the things that have happened to him, and then he learns how to heal. He learns how to process these things that have happened, grieve the loss, let go of them, and allow his heart to heal so that his emotional bucket can start to fill up again. And then there's a full counseling game that goes along with this one. The next one is called Campfire Stories. And so this is a game that's totally different than all the others. It is all about storytelling, symbolism, metaphor, working through a lot of the trauma themes that happen with kids. And so it's really powerful in that it's going to help kids think about, like, if I'm in the woods, who is going to make me feel safe? Who can I count on to be my kind of ride or die person, right? Like, who is it that's going to stand by me through thick and thin, and I can count on them to comfort me and protect me and be there for me. And then, like, what kind of tools would you want if you're out in the woods and you need to survive? What would you do if there was an intruder that came into your tent and wreaked havoc on everything? It gets into just a lot of situations that metaphorically might have happened to them, but it's all kind of framed in a sense of surviving in the woods and just telling stories about things. And so you kind of get into, you hear the theme of the underlying thing that's going on. So what is so powerful about this is that kids can heal without having to tell vital, like, descriptive details of what they've experienced, but they can heal through symbolism and through storytelling. Kind of like what we would do with puppetry in play therapy. You can use a lot of the same skills with that game. The next one is body safety, red light, green light. So this would be great for helping kids establish boundaries as far as what are things that are okay to do with my body, what are things that are not okay to do, body safety, who to tell whenever you need help, good touch, bad touch, all, those kind of things. And so it does align with TF-CBT as well. So the next one is called Submerged. It is a game about buried emotions. So we know that whenever a kid goes through trauma, a lot of times that stuff kind of gets trapped underneath, and you've got like this reactivity that happens. And so this is all about bringing more awareness of like anger as a secondary emotion, sluggishness, disinterest, like what are the underlying issues that are causing all of those things, and how do you kind of dig for and uproot some of those submerged things so that you can feel better. Dino Stories is kind of similar to the Campfire Stories one, but it's a dinosaur theme. And sometimes I found like little bitty dinosaurs at Dollar Tree, and I love to throw those in my little baggie. So when we pull this game out, we play with the little dinosaurs instead of pawns. But it's a cute one. Little kids, I would say 4 to 6 years old, absolutely love this game. I've played it with older kids as well, like 10 and 11 year olds, and they like it as well. But it does have a lot of symbolism, safety themes. It kind of you'll get some answers as far as does this child have somebody that's nurturing them and loving on them, or do they feel alone? What who protects them? Do they feel protected? Do they feel like they have to protect themselves? And those would be themes that I would highly recommend if you find a kid who's always focused on like wanting to hide a weapon under their pillow, or they ruminate about how to protect themselves if harm is coming. That's kind of a telltale sign that they don't feel a sense of trust that there's somebody else protecting them. So anyway, a lot of those themes will come out during games like this. The next one, I love the concept of this one, and this one is on my wish list on Amazon, and I haven't bought it yet, but it's called Monster Stomp, and it's about becoming aware of your emotions and overcoming anxiety. So kids are going to form monsters with Play-Doh and then stomp them and put them in jail when they land on a monster stomp space. So I just love the concept of, sometimes kids will view their abusers as monsters, and so this is a chance to stomp on them. It's kind of a cool concept. It gives them a sense of empowerment and overcoming, and not feeling trapped, but being more of an aggressor. So it can let out some of those pent up things that have been just kind of building inside. So the next one is called Fly High, and it is a game about building resilience. So, one of the themes that I find troubling, I think that we kind of have this battle in our society between the difference of teaching people to have victimhood mindset of this happened to me, so I need all these handicaps, and I really can't deal with my emotions, so I need the whole world to kind of cater to me to shelter me from my own emotions. And that's not really building resilience. That's not really building a sense of empowerment and overcoming, right? So this game is about like you can overcome the bad things that happen to you, and it's about building that survivor mindset of, you know what, I'm strong, I can push through, I can overcome these things. And that's not trying to take away from the pain or devastation that the child has experienced, but it's about reframing things in a way of, how do I push through? How do I get on top? How do I fly high whenever I feel like all these situations are flying at me? And so it's all about kind of really battling against that victim mindset, basically. The next one is not so much a game, but I love the concept of this. It's called Inner Critters, and it was created by my friend Kim Langsh with Emotionanigans. And so it has all of these really beautiful artistic cards. And so you can use them in the sand tray, you can use them as a card game, you can use them like you could have a child pick out characters to represent different people in their life, different friendships. You could have them create a lot of times kids will want to create wars between different characters. I mean, there's a lot of different things you could do with this, but it's basically just a card set that kids can use to just artistically process things, right? The next one is called Color Your World, and this is a game about it. I would say that you would want it with maybe older elementary up through high school age kids. It's great for kids who love art because there's going to be, I suppose, 8 different prompts in there that will have you draw pictures. But the metaphor behind it is that your whole life is a blank canvas, and you get to fill it with what you want to. So you have the choice to choose who your friends are going to be. You have the choice to pick out, what things are you allowing onto your canvas and what things are you rejecting from your canvas, and what kind of person do you want to be? What are your goals and your dreams and aspirations, and how are you going to leave your mark on the world? And so it can be a really beautiful metaphor to help kids really think about their own sense of control over their life and kind of build that internal locus of control. Um, but there's a lot of metaphors. Like the eraser can be about, like, if you could go back and erase past mistakes, what would you do? And how do you mentally overcome those things that you're like, man, I totally blew it. So, are you going to hold that back and hold yourself back from life because you blew it once? No, you got to learn how to keep on going, how to keep on pressing forward, right? So, anyway, it is the last game on the list, but we've got games for everything. So if you're looking for games for anger, anxiety, grief, impulse control, all this stuff, I've got lists for everything. And I've got over 70 games on my website that I've created. And so I've got resources for all sorts of stuff. So be sure to check everything out at pathways to peace counseling.com. Thanks for joining me.